I'm so excited to be building an Artificer in BG3, so let's dive in. Welcome to the second modded build on the channel, and today we are looking at the Tinkerer build, following the narrative from the short I did several weeks ago, linked above. This build makes use of the Artificer class, so let's dive straight into the disclaimers and then take a look at the mods for this build. So as always, this is a concept first optimized second style build, building around a concept rather than the best possible damage. This build looks like it should be a heap of fun to play though, and I hope you enjoy it. Additionally, of course, this is a modded build, so with modded builds at present they work best when you start a fresh playthrough, otherwise there can be issues that pop up in the way that story and quest triggers compile. Secondly, once you save a campaign with mods added, those saves cannot be reverted to be played without mods, the game will simply crash. I'm happy to help however I can, but I am a terrible technical support. If you are running into issues or struggling to set up mods in your games, your best bet for help with that is the mod page itself. So the mods we are using in this video are pretty simple. Firstly, we have the Artificer class and all subclasses mod by these lovely people on screen now. This mod is amazing, adding my favorite D&D class into the game, and I've been hanging out to create an Artificer build since I discovered this mod. This mod is a bit different from the D&D class just to fit the mechanics of BG3, and I've had a heap to do testing for all the different abilities and mechanics, so sorry in advance if anything I say is slightly incorrect. Secondly, we have the 5e spells mod by Diz91891. This mod adds a bunch of missing spells from D&D into the game and gives you a massive and refreshing variety of spell choices to use for crafting new and interesting builds with. I've linked both of these mods in the description. Make sure to do your due diligence though when installing. They are both dependent on a couple of other mods to get working. Improved UI release ready, BG3 mod fixer, and BG3 script extender. Awesome, so with that out of the way, let's get into the build. You were born several decades ago as the second son in your family. The tradition of second sons being smiths amongst your clan was strong, especially in your outpost in the Giants Run Mountains, southeast of Baldur's Gate. Ogres, goblins, and worse surrounded you on all sides, and your clan had dug in deep enough that even the Underdark was a threat. You learned the craft, of course. How could you not? It was simple enough, if labor intensive. But you always had more of an interest in machines, building weapons, or armor that defied expectations. You pleaded time and time again for your skills to be recognized, but this challenged all custom. The All-Father demands this of us. The All-Father wills it. We need smiths, boy, do your duty, is all they would ever say. So you learned, but you continued to tinker. Again and again you were caught until your defiance reached the tipping point. You were given a choice. Do your duty or be cast out by your family and exiled from your home. Of course, this was yet another empty threat. They needed you, but in the brash and recklessness that youth brings, you threw it back in their faces. You tired of the cultural pressures and traditions. You left your clan that day, you left, and though you regretted, you never once looked back. Okay, so character creation, let's do this. Today we are playing as a dwarf, and in specific a gold dwarf. Now, gold dwarfs are an interesting race. While they are morally good, they do tend to place themselves above other races, and especially look down on the monstrous races of the Underdark, expanding that enmity even to those associated with them. Elves and half-orcs received especially poor treatment due to their similarities with drow and orcs respectively. They also preferred to simply enchant their arms and armor, as opposed to experimenting with the skills of talented artificers, due to the fact that they cling desperately to the conservative traditions that they've upheld for generations. So while the outposts like yours in the Giants Run Mountains are less strict with the traditions, you are still an incredibly odd gold dwarf, taking the path of an artificer. So, as an artificer, we get Constitution and Intelligence saving throw proficiency, up to medium armor, and several weapon proficiencies aligning with the weapons and armor added in by the mod. For cantrips, we get 3 just for being an artificer in light, minor illusion, and mending. Mending is an interesting one, perfectly aligning with the class. It allows us to repair inanimate objects, healing them for 1d8 plus our intelligence modifier. This could be doors, chests, or even our mechanical minions. Next, we are taking the incredible Lightning Lash. This is Thorn Whip, Lightning Edition. It deals 1d8 lightning damage, and if the target fails a strength saving throw, they are pulled 3 meters towards you. Strength is an okay target for this saving throw, since you will only really be using this to get a ranged enemy down from an elevation. Lastly, we have Guidance. You know it, you love it, boosting all your ability checks and all round making your gameplay easier. For our background, we are taking the Guild Artisan. You are skilled in the craft of blacksmithing and in tinkering with magical and mundane objects, so I think this fits pretty well, giving us insight and persuasion proficiency. For abilities, we are doing something a little strange here, but it will all make sense soon enough. We are going 10 in strength, 13 in dexterity, 15 plus 1 in constitution, 15 plus 2 in intelligence, 8 in wisdom, and 10 in charisma. For proficiencies, we automatically get proficiency in sleight of hand just from being an artificer. So let's take Arcana, of course, and perception to negate the negative roll there. For spells, we don't get many appealing offensive options for this build type, and we don't really need them. So let's go with a few utility and defensive options instead. I really like picking up spells and then RPing them like gadgets. The adjustment to your boots to make you jump further and run faster in Long Strider and Enhanced Leap. Then maybe magic woven through the leather in your armor to absorb elements. Finally, a magical projection that alters your appearance in Disguise Self. You never expected to find yourself aboard an actual Mind Flayer vessel, so take your time to explore every nook and cranny. You are endlessly curious about the workings of these craft, and they are marvels of magic that make little sense beyond the fact that they are actual live creatures. After you have done your due diligence as a Master Artificer, fight your way off the ship and on to level 2. Waking up on the shores of the river, you have never seen this area. You do not know where you are, though you quickly find the first survivor. She is carrying with her a mysterious artifact that you want to inspect. Tentative at first, she is willing to accept your lead and find a healer with you, mainly due to your seniority, you surmise. You need to find a cure for this infection quickly. These damn illithids interrupted your work, years in the making. Perfected automatrons, your life work and your schematics just lying on your table for anyone to find. You are so close to becoming one of the most powerful men in Baldur's Gate. Okay, level 2, and our genius begins to show as we get our first 4 infusions. These are one of the main Artificer class features, giving you access to a variety of effects to enhance your equipment. You get 2 infusions per day, increasing to 3 on level 6 and 4 on level 10. I won't cover all of them here, but take your time to go over them all and test them out. Our first infusion is Repeating Shot, and this one is Wild, letting us infuse a crossbow or firearm, giving it +1 to attack and damage rolls. It also changes the damage type to Force, since it loads magic ammunition, which is rarely resisted damage type. It also lets you make a second attack with your bonus action. I want to highlight this because it's really strong. For comparison, a rapier is a D8 weapon. You need 2 weapon fighting style and the dual wielder feat, along with 2 rapiers just to get this same damage, and that's at least level 8. A light crossbow is a D8 weapon, and Repeating Shot makes this equivalent, plus a great damage type, +1 to hit and damage. This is an awesome way to start the build, and you feel like a powerful combatant from level 2. For our other 2 important infusions, we are going to grab Enhanced Defense, letting us boost our AC by 1, and Enhanced Weapon, boosting our attack and damage rolls by 1. Feel free to use either of them, and yes, before you ask, Repeating Shot and Enhanced Weapon do stack. During your travels, you have been taking the time to gather resources. Old scrap, unused plate mail, screws, nails, anything you can find. And of an evening, you have been working away, recalling from memory your work on the Steel Watches, worrying endlessly that someone else has your blueprints. Finally, after 3 days, you ratchet the last bolts, infuse some magic into your creation, and are rewarded with the whirring of gears, and its eyes snap open. So level 3, and we choose our subclass. We are taking the Battlesmith, getting firstly the Battle Ready feature. Whenever we use a magical weapon, we are able to use our intelligence instead of strength and dexterity for attack and damage rolls. This is incredibly useful and means that we can go either ranged or melee with little regard to those other stats. Second, we get our main class feature in the Steel Defender, a more primitive version of your ultimate creation, but hey, you work with the resources you have. It has a decent pool of health at 24 and will level as you do, jumping to level 5, 9 and 12 as you reach each threshold. It has a melee attack dealing 1d8 plus its strength plus your proficiency bonus, so 4 at the moment. It also has pack tactics, so as long as another ally is within 3 meters, it also gains advantage on attack rolls. We also gain 3 other spells on this level. Heroism and the shield spell we get just for being a battlesmith. Then we get Right Tool for the Job, which is an Artificer feature letting us summon our choice of a Thieves' Tools, Trap Disarming Kit, a Shovel or a Hammer, once per short rest. The hammer can be used to upgrade your starting armor if you choose to keep it and combine it with various rare metals. Level 4 and you have begun to amass some gold from your exploits. You start looking for components to make yourself a new weapon, and these components need to be perfect. No cutting corners here, your life is on the line. We get our first feat here and we are taking the feat included in the mod, Gunner, giving us +1 to our dexterity score, rounding that out to a nice even 14. Secondly, it gives us Ignore Disadvantage with firearms if we are at close range. Now firearms has been showing up a bit here and there, and you might be wondering about that. Yes, this mod adds magical pistols and rifles to the game. They are insanely expensive and available in Act 1, then again in Act 3. Weapon crafted, automaton ready, you make your way into the Underdark. If any of the teachings of your people stuck with you, it's that you utterly revile the monstrous races of the world. You have grown accustomed to the other races during your time living in Baldur's Gate. Your less than savory relatives, the Dwergar, somehow managed to tolerate it, but you never could. Just like the goblin camp you encountered above, there is no mercy in you when it comes to this filth. You don't look for a fight, however, you are not here to solve other people's problems. You have heard whispers of a remarkable forge somewhere in this region, and surely if a way up to Moonrise Towers is anywhere, it will likely be there. So level 5 and we have level 2 spells finally, and this is a hard level to pick just a few. Heat Metal is a fantastic thematic option. Vortex Warp is an amazing skill for controlling the battlefield. Blur could help you get out of a bad situation. Invisibility, Enlarge Reduce, Magic Weapon, even Darkness for reasons we'll discuss shortly. That's not all though, you automatically get Branding Smite and Warding Bond for being a battlesmith. Finally, topping everything off, you unlock extra attack. So I haven't mentioned this yet in the build, but we're not actually a ranged build. After unlocking Gunner, we can be right up in the fray, and on my playthrough I made use of a Warhammer in 2 hands and a pistol. The fantastic thing about Repeating Shot is that it counts as a weapon attack. So we can run in and smack an enemy with our hammer, then turn around and shoot his friend point blank with Repeating Shot. I love the concept of this, weapons of every kind, melee, ranged or spell, it doesn't matter, you can do it all. Level 6 and we found the incredible forge we were looking for, it's utterly mind-blowing. The incredible machinery used to put this together and the colossal construct that guards the forge. You thought you were good, efficient maybe, but this is a masterpiece. It is such a shame it was instantly hostile, you would have loved to return to study it. You take its head and hope that it will suffice for the meantime. The mithril here was incredibly pure, and you use it to forge a new set of armor to survive the coming storm. So we get a few neat features on this level. Firstly, we get expertise in Sleight of Hand, boosting it to a +8. Next, we get 2 more infusions and another infusion slot, letting us use 3 per long rest. Firstly, we get Boots of the Winding Path, letting us infuse a pair of boots, increasing our movement by 3 meters and letting us avoid opportunity attacks. Perfect for us since we are switching between melee and ranged. Second, we are taking Create spell slot, giving us a 5th first level spell slot for use for our various utility skills. Okay, halftime and we have a bit to go over. Firstly, we have to go over all the +1 stacking that is possible for crazy shenanigans. So I mentioned that all the infusions stack, so with Enhanced Weapon, Repeating Shot and the Magic Weapon spell, you could hypothetically get any weapon to +3 or higher if the weapon has existing bonuses. This is great if you are focusing on just one aspect of the character. For this build, I split it, doing repeating shot on my pistol and enhanced weapon on my warhammer. I opted for magic weapon more in a few levels since it's set and forget, but more often at level 5 or 6 I was concentrating on fairy fire. Following that, since it affects our damage and hit chance, I'm assuming that you take the Hag's Deal, boosting your intelligence to 18. You don't have to, and it might be slightly out of character, but it's the only way to get there given that all the feat choices that we'll be taking. Just for those wondering about the firearms and other items in this mod, the firearms and the monocle I'll put on screen in a sec are available in rare variants in the Druid's Grove, then in the very rare variant from the Dragonborn Blacksmith in Rivington along with a legendary Warhammer. So speaking of gear, let's get into it. For Act 1, we have the Diadem of Arcane Synergy, granting us Arcane Acuity. Alternatively, we could opt for the monocle and use our concentration for the Darkness Devil Sight combo. For a firearm, I opted for the pistol, however the rifle is also an option. The rifle is slightly better, however I much prefer the idea of spinning around in combat, quick drawing a pistol, and I'm willing to sacrifice the potential +2 damage for it. Next we have the Doom Hammer, and I love this hammer for the name alone, and I've been wanting to use it in a build for ages. It has the added benefit of using the same model as your endgame Warhammer, so I like to continue the theme of tinkering with your gear to make it better over the course of a playthrough. Alternatively, Faithbreaker is a good option with a great weapon ability, adding an additional d6 to your swing. Strange Conduit Ring and Boots of Striding are also great pickups for any build concentrating on a spell, and we likely will be. Finally, Adamantine Scale Mail is the best medium armor you will find till the start of Act 3. Act 2, and this one is much quicker, giving us Spellcrux Amulet to restore our very limited spell slots, Vivacious Cloak since we will be in melee range most of the time, Killer's Sweetheart is a great ring, and after you kill an enemy it lets you choose when to use your guaranteed critical hit. Finally, Risky Ring might be a good pickup, less now and more in a few levels. Finally, Act 3, and the good stuff here is super easy to find but incredibly expensive. As mentioned, the +1 Flintlock Pistol, Armor of Battle Inventions, and Draconic Deconstructor are all available at the start of Act 3 in the blacksmith opposite the Open Hand Temple in Rivington. Let's break these items down. So the Armor of Battle Inventions reduces our damage taken by 2 and gives us bonus lightning damage or healing to the Arcane Jolt feature. We haven't seen this yet, we'll get to it in a few levels. We also get access to the Steel Defender Overdrive spell, and this sends our companion into overdrive, granting it an extra attack, +1d6 extra lightning damage on all attacks, and 2 new spells. Goading Roar, taunting all enemies nearby to attack them for 2 turns, and Misty Step, letting them move more freely around the battlefield. Next we have the Draconic Deconstructor, a monster of a Warhammer, dealing 2d6 bludgeoning damage plus 1d6 lightning damage on attacks, then dealing an additional 4d8 damage to construct type enemies and 1d4 of thunder damage to enemies when we jump into combat. It has thrown weapon property and access to a limited version of Koreska's Favor spell, allowing us to use Bolts of Doom or Bone Shaking Thunder. I definitely recommend saving up for these items and not spending too much in the earlier acts, as these items are build defining. Also in Act 3 though, we have the Cloak of Displacement for a free blur spell, Helldusk Gloves for the bonus 1d6 to attacks and the powerful Ray of Fire spell, or Legacy of the Masters as an alternative. As a final note before we get back into the build, don't forget to use your Mending cantrip to top up your defender in between combat encounters. And it also might be tempting to use the Warding Bond spell on your companion, but I don't think this is working as intended at the moment, and you'll end up taking double damage, causing you to die incredibly quickly. Okay, that's enough rambling, let's get back to the build. You are still coming to terms with everything you witnessed in the Underdark. The Great Forge, a marvel out of time. A magical tower powered by an incredible source of energy, and automatrons everywhere. You have a moment where everything seems to come into clear focus. Like a madman seeing prophetic visions, it was all so clear. You have not had a moment like this in many years, not since you started your journey to make the Steel Watches to defend Baldur's Gate. Moonrise Towers must fall, and you must learn of the Absolute's plan. There is much more at stake here than it seems. So level 7, and we get another level 2 spell slot and the Flash of Genius cantrip. This cantrip can be used whenever an ally rolls an ability check or saving throw, adding our proficiency bonus to the roll. So +3 now and going up to a +4 on level 9. Okay, level 8, and as you close in on Moonrise Towers, after rallying others to your cause, you begin to feel an unsettling dread wash over you. There is something here, something terrible, and you can sense it. So this level we only get a feat, and we are taking the Great Weapon Master feat. This is a fantastic one, reducing our chance to hit by 5, but boosting our damage by +10. Definitely make sure at this point to be giving your melee weapon a +1 to hit at least, and I would also consider concentrating on magic weapon now, easily cancelling out the negative chance to hit from Great Weapon Master. With Moonrise now behind you, you have exited victorious with a potent relic in your hands. You still have not removed this wretched parasite, and it appears your guardian was not as forthcoming as they seemed, unsurprisingly. However, you have never felt more powerful, and you return to Baldur's Gate now a new man, ready to finish your work perfecting the Steel Watches and defend against the coming threat that marches on the gates. So level 9, and after 2 lulls in the progress, this is a big one for us. Firstly, we get the feature mentioned in the halftime break, Arcane Jolt. This skill triggers after we hit an enemy for the first time in a turn, and we can choose to hit that enemy again for 2d6 force damage or heal an ally for 2d6. We can do this 8 times per long rest, and the armor piece mentioned earlier adds an additional d8 to the damage or healing of this skill. Not only that, but our construct has just increased to level 9, also gaining 4 charges of the skill per long rest. That's not all though, since we also get level 3 spells on this level, and there are some bangers. We get one of my favorites in Conjure Barrage, hitting all enemies in a cone in front of you with your full melee or range damage, including modifiers, just for being a battlesmith. We also get Elemental Weapon, becoming a replacement for your magic weapon. Haste, of course, which would be better on your wizard or sorcerer, but if you don't have one, definitely pick it up here. There are other great options here: Fire Arrows, Counterspell, and Glyph of Warding. Be sure to test out all the spells from the 5e spells mod. Level 10, and we arrive home to Baldur's Gate, to a terrible sight. Along the walls in front of the gates, walking with patrols, you see a design you know intimately. Your steel watches are everywhere. Your worst fear has come to pass. Your house was looted and your blueprints stolen. You have to get to the bottom of this and discover how this happened and who has claimed credit for your creation. So on this level, before we get into the new features, do you remember those infusions you got all the way back on level 2? Well, those have upgraded now. Enhanced Defense and Enhanced Weapon now give you a +2 instead of a +1, and Repeating Shot is still a +1, but it no longer costs a bonus action to use, giving you more resources at your disposal per turn. For our features on this level, first we get another infusion slot, boosting that up to 4 available at once. Next we get the Magic Item Adept feature, giving us +1 to damage while we're wielding a magical weapon. Then 2 new infusions, and I think some great picks here are Returning Weapon. Since our Draconic Deconstructor is a thrown weapon, we might as well let it return to us afterwards, and Replicate Magic Item, giving you access to several powerful items, giving you the ability to fly, or boosting your constitution or strength, or giving you access to powerful spells and advantage on saving throws. For our cantrip, pick your favorite here, and the new feature, Alchemical Adept, combines with Salvage Elements, allowing us to extract useful components from items in the environment and use those components to combine into useful items like smoke powder satchels, acid arrows, or alchemist's fire, just to name a few. Gortash. That's the name of the damn fool who stole your destiny and now has the nerve to garner an agreement with you, hoping for your aid against some other villain. You're going to smash his pretty little head in. So level 11, and we only get one feature here, Spell Storing Item, letting us scribe up to 4 spells into scrolls. This is a ritual cast, giving you or your allies 4 casts of these spells for free each day. And finally, level 12, and we close out the build with a final feat, and we are taking Sharpshooter, really emphasizing the playstyle so far, giving you a bonus damage on your range attacks and letting you destroy the enemy no matter your choice of weapon. I adore this build, being my favorite D&D class and a great subclass to boot. I cannot recommend this mod highly enough, and if you can mod the game, it's definitely worth throwing in there as an option along with the 5e spells mod. I've left links to both of them in the video description. No optimization section this week, but I will say that if you do grab the mod, definitely spend some time with the other subclasses. They are implemented really well and they each have their own endgame armor to complement them. I will also mention that if you are keen to get your hands on the Steel Watcher endgame skin for your companion from today's build, it doesn't boost its stats at all, but it does look great. It's available from the child merchant Sticky Dondo in the Underground Guild Hall in Act 3 Lower City. But that's it for me for this week. I hope you enjoyed the build. Next week is another live stream week if you're keen to tune in for that. And if you want to support the channel, you can now join as a member. But either way, a like and subscribe goes a long way. Until next time though, see ya.